the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we're doing Sotah, Daf Chaf Aleph, number 21. I have a great share for you today, an amazing share straight from America, Yera Kodesh, Medina HaKodesh, Medinot HaKodesh. Let's start from towards the top of Chaf Aleph, and Aleph 21a, about 6 lines down, the 2 dots. V'yesh schus tola gimel shanim. There's a schus, right? We mentioned in the previous Mishnah, according to the Tanakama, a woman, even though she's perhaps guilty of adultery, she won't get punished for 1, 2, or 3 years. What's the type of merit that will delay her punishment? Schus Mai, the Gemara asks, schus of Torah. It's the reward she gets for learning Torah. Ha'ena mitzvah va'osei. She's not commanded to learn Torah. A woman is not mitzvah to learn Torah. The Gemara in Maseches Kedushin says the only people that are mitzvah to teach Torah, mitzvah to learn Torah. And a woman is not mitzvah to teach Torah. She's not mitzvah to learn Torah. So she's not obligated to the mitzvah, even though you get schar for a mitzvah, even though you're not mitzvah, according to some opinions. Nonetheless, it's not real schar. It's not the real reward that you get for a mitzvah osa. Ela is chus the mitzvah. It's chus for doing mitzvahs. One are mitzvah and other mitzvahs, as long as it's a mitzvah she'ena zman grama. They're mitzvah. So they get for doing those mitzvahs, that's chus they get. Depending on how much mitzvahs they do, they get that protection. So the Gemara says chus the mitzvah migna kulei hai. Does doing mitzvahs protect you that much that it would delay the punishment? Atanya. The Bryce says, Zu darash Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi. Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi darash in the following pasuk. Kiner mitzvah Torah or. It says in Mishlei that doing mitzvahs is like a candle. It's like a light, a small light. But Torah or learning Torah is like a huge light. Tala akasav is a mitzvah b'nerves a Torah or. The Torah compared doing mitzvahs to a candle and learning Torah to a light. A mitzvah b'ner lo malach ma ner ena magina el fisha. It's like a candle, only protects you, right? If you're in the dark and you need a candle to see, it only lasts for a certain amount of time. It protects you for a certain amount of time. Mitzvah en magina el fisha. So too mitzvahs only protect you for a certain amount of time. But as a Torah or the reason the Torah compared Torah to an eternal light, lo malach ma or magina olam, just like an eternal light. If you have a light that lasts for a really long time, like an LED light that lasts for a really long time, they die after 2 years, 2 or 3 years, but maybe one day they'll come with a light that never goes out. Or the Torah, the Gemara compares actually light to the sun. Torah magna olam, Torah magina olam. So too, the schos of Torah protects you forever. Va'omer. Let's add on to that. B'hid chalecha tancha osach. The previous pasuk, it says kinei mitzvah Torah. Or the previous pasuk, b'hid chalecha tancha osach. When you're walking, it'll provide a path for you. The shachbcha, the pasuk continues with shachbcha. When you go to sleep, hit disrecha. Familiar with siyumim, we say this pasuk at the siyum. So the Gemara says, Torah protects you in this world, right? It provides a path for you in this world. When you go to sleep, Torah protects you. Zu misa. That's talking about when you die, you're protected in some way by the schos that you learn Torah. When you're reawakened from the dead, when you enter Tchias HaMesim, you'll be protected again from the Torah. Mashal Adam. So the Gemara continues explaining Kinei Mitzvah Torah or Mashal Adam Shaya Mahalech B'Ishon Laila Ba'Afela. It's comparable to a person that was walking in it's a very dark, the darkness of the night. There's not every place has street lights. So you're afraid from thorns and from thistles and holes. Wild animals and bandits. And not only that, you also don't know where you're going. And his damnalo avuka shalor. Let's say he has a torch of fire, and it's all if he has a mitzvah is like a candle, like a torch. So he's able to see. He won't fall into the pits. He won't get hurt by the thorns. Even if he has a candle or a torch, he's still afraid he can be attacked by wild animals. We're not listening and bandits. And not only that, he doesn't know where he's going. When the sun comes out, he's saved. Wild animals generally don't roam during the day. And also the bandits are not going to be afraid to attack during the day. And that's comparable to Torah. He still doesn't know which way he's going. Parshas Drachim, these are Mikulam. Once he gets to Parshas Drachim, which is basically a public thoroughfare, which have signs over there, he's safe from all of them. Now the Gemara is not part of the pasuk. Yinemer to Torah we already used. Ner is talking about the torch in the middle of the night, and Torah is compared to the sunlight. But what is Parshas Drachim? The Gemara later on will explain what Parshas Drachim refers to. He's saved. He goes and knows on which path to go to. Davar Acher. Another explanation of Kiner Mitzvah Torah or Aveira Mechabe Mitzvah. Even though a mitzvah is worth something, if you do an Aveira, a strong Aveira, usually when the Gemara says Aveira refers to Gilui Arayos, some sexual misconduct. So if you do that, it'll erase the mitzvah. However, if you learn Torah, doing an Aveira will not extinguish the schus of your Torah. We talked about Shir Hashir. Even abundant waters won't be able to extinguish the love of Torah. Amar Rav Yosef, mitzvah b'idna da'asikba migdal matzla. Rav Yosef says, a mitzvah, when you're engaged in it, migdal matzla, it protects you. And also it saves you. It saves you from sinning, according to the article. So this is an answer to what the Gemara said before. The Gemara says, maybe it's the schus of a mitzvah that the Mishnah meant, but the Gemara says the schus of a mitzvah doesn't protect you. Now, Riyosef says no. There is a difference between Torah and mitzvahs. Mitzvah does protect you, even if you're not engaged in the mitzvah, right? If you're engaged in the mitzvah, it not only protects you, it also stops you from sinning. When you're not engaged in the mitzvah, it does protect you, like the Mishnah says. The schus will be tola for 1 or 2 or 3 years. However, it's not going to save you from sinning. Torah is different. Whether you're presently engaged in it or not, migdo matzla, it not only protects you, but saves you from sinning. Matzla Rabba says the following objection to this. There were 2 spiritual big rabbis. Dog was some rabbi in the time of Shaul, right, who slandered against David HaMelech and eventually caused the destruction of a whole Inov Yerakohanim. And Achitophel lived a little later. He was an advisor to David HaMelech himself, and he changed over. He was a traitor from David. He went to Avshalom, his son. So they learned Torah extensively, and they weren't protected from sinning. They sinned. They ended up rebelling against David. Torah. Didn't they learn Torah? What didn't protect them? Why didn't it save them from doing Averas, from straying from David? So we have to rephrase this. Rava says, Torah, when you're engaged in it, migno matzla. It protects you and it saves you from sinning. When you're not presently engaged in it, agune migna, it protects you from physical harm in this world. Matzla. However, it does not prevent you from sinning. Mitzvah, mitzvahs, doesn't matter whether you're engaged in them or not. As long as you've done mitzvahs, it will protect you physically, but it won't save you from sinning. So that can explain our Mishnah. Ravina gives a different answer on our Mishnah. Olam schus Torah. Really, the schus to mention our Mishnah is not the schus of doing mitzvahs, it's the schus of Torah. With the Kamar, women are not obligated to learn Torah. And he the Pudei Lamifkada, Beikra, the Makrian, Omasian, Banayu, Vinishon Lagavrayu, Adasim, Russia, Milo Palgan Bahadayu. They do get reward for Torah, not for learning the Torah. But Makrian, Omasian, Banayu, according to the article, it means basically that they get their kids ready, they pack up their lunches, they send them up to school in the morning. To me, Mikri and Amasian says they teach the Mikra Mishnah, Mishnayos and Mikra and Chumash. The woman could learn, they could understand that. My mother herself, she learns the Seder Mishnah Yomi. She learned Tanakh Yomi, but she doesn't learn Gemara. Gemara, they have to learn in yeshivas. You don't have to send your kids to yeshiva to learn Mishnayos and to learn Chumash. Your mother could teach you that. Either way, they get some schus for that. Also, with Nachum Gavarad Asim Russia, right? Their husbands come back from Kol at 1 o'clock in the morning. They wait up for their husbands so they can go to sleep with their husbands. So that's a schus. They really want to go to sleep. And the Gemara says it's elsewhere in Maseches Ksuvos also that the schus that they keep their eyes open and don't let their eyes fall asleep, they get some reward. So they get half the reward with their husbands. They split the reward with their husbands. So that's schus if they have a husband like that or children that either teach Torah or send them off to school to learn Torah. So they also incorporate in the schus of Torah. So that protects them. So those are the two answers. One says, my parsha is Racham, right? The mashal, we said Ner mitzvah Torah, or Ner is like a torch at night, and Torah is like the sunlight. What is Parshas Racham? The mashal says, Amar Rav Chisda, Zet Talmud Chacham Yom HaMisa. Someone who's a Talmud Chacham, and he also thinks about the day that he's going to die. Not only is he engaged in Torah, but he also thinks about the day he's going to die, which leads him to make the right decisions, to be on the right path. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Zet Talmud Chacham Yiras Chet. This Talmud Chacham who has fear of sin. He doesn't have to be thinking practically about the day he's going to die, but he has fear of sin. It'll keep him on the right path. He says, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter whether you're learning Musar necessarily. You're a Talmud Chacham. You're able to take out the proper halachas from the Gemara you're learning. A lot of people learn Gemara. They learn analytically. They don't learn it to come away with the proper halakha. When someone learns the Torah, and the purpose of his learning Torah is to come out with the correct halakha, and to follow the correct halakha, he will be on the correct path. Davar acher, aveira mechabe mitzvah, and aveira mechabe Torah. Another explanation, Naveira, right, of ner mitzvah Torah. Aveira extinguishes a mitzvah, and aveira mechabe Torah. Aveira does not extinguish Torah. Like we said before, Amar Rav Yosef, Darsher Menachem Rav Yosef L'Haikra Sinai. Menachem Rav Yosef explained this pasuk so beautifully. It was like the Kabbalah's Torah at Har Sinai. V'Almali Darshu Adog V'Achitofel Haki L'Ra'atu Basar David. If David Dog V'Achitofel would have darshaned it like this, they wouldn't have run after David. Chsiv Leimor L'Elokim Azvu. They said basically that David left God. Right? They weren't careful, and they sinned by slandering against David or being a traitor against David. My darish, what did they darsh in the pasuk? What did they think that he missed? They left David. They said lashon hara against David because they thought he made a mistake. What led them to do that? My darish, davar. Torah says you're not supposed to see nakedness. I believe this is a reference to the sin of Bathsheba. David sinned with Bathsheba. He saw her naked, and the Gemara in Kedusha indicates he did something wrong by having her husband killed so he could marry her. If they would have darshan, like we said, that an avera, even an avera with immorality, is close to an avera with immorality. Her husband really died. It wasn't really an avera, but he shouldn't have done what he did. So an avera extinguishes mitzvah, but not extinguishes Torah. David learned a lot of Torah, like the Gemara says in Sefas Brachos. My boz yavuzulo. Right, we quoted a pasuk before. My rabim leichul chabos ava. Bozia vozulo, you'll embarrass someone. What does that have to do with learning Torah? Amar ulo lo kishimon achi Azariah, lo Rabbi Yochanan debei Nesiya. Shimon achi Azariah. Shimon was called the brother of Azariah. Why is he called the brother of Azariah? The Gemara in Mesechus Zvachim, in the beginning of Mesechus Zvachim, Rashi explains that it was Yisachar Zvulun. They had a classical Yisachar Zvulun partnership. Shimon was called the brother of Azariah because even though Azariah wasn't actually his brother, he supported him in learning, so they shared the schar. V'lo Rabbi Yochanan debei Nesiya. Rabbi Yochanan had a similar arrangement with the house of the Nasi, with the government. They supported him. He learned Torah. Elok Hillel v'Shavna. Right? That's not what it's talking about. Hillel v'Shavna was a little different arrangement. They were, in a certain respect, brothers. They weren't actual brothers. Hillel also with Torah. Hillel was famous for learning Torah. Like the Gemara in Yuma, he would even go. He was very poor. He went on the roof. It was snowing one Friday night to learn Torah and got completely snowed upon just to hear Torah. He didn't have money to get into the Beis Medrash. Shivna Avad Iska. Shivna engaged in business. Lasof Amarle. At the end, after he became rich, Shivna. Amarle Tana Arov Liflog. Hillel was poor. So Shivna came to him and said, the schar that you learned for whatever amount of years you learned Torah, Hillel, let's split up. I'll take half of your schar and I'll give you half of my fortune. Yatsa Baskal Amra immediately nations called home base. So Boziav, who's low. If a person will give his entire treasures up, Boziav, who's low, the Baskal was basically imploring Hillel to reject the offer. Basically, degrade the person, don't take the offer. Now, according to the Art Scroll, they say that Hillel v'Shavna was different. The difference is that Hillel v'Shavna, if Shavna came to Hillel while he was poor and while he was trying to learn Torah, and when he said, I'll support you, and made it easier for Hillel, that would be a good arrangement. That would be a good Yisachar Zvulun arrangement, like Shimon Achi Azariah and Yochanan debei Nesiya. However, the fact was that Hillel struggled many years to learn Torah without any money. And after this guy came later, Shivna, and tried to give him his fortune, but he already struggled for 14 years. If he would have made the arrangement before he started learning Torah, it would have been a good arrangement. But now it's not a good arrangement because he struggled already. Keep the Torah that you have. Don't take the fortune. That's what the art scroll says. I will give my own explanation based on. I've had numerous discussions. I had an interview. I asked someone about Yisachar's relationship, and there was also an article in Mishpacha magazine where I talked about it all in the Mishpacha about Yisachar's relationship. I told you my opinion about it. I would try to interject that opinion and give a different explanation. The Gemara and Ian with Ben Sion. Let's go to Chaf Aleph and Beis on the top. Or Ben Azai Chayav Adam L'Lamed as Bito Torah. And as I says in the Mishnah, you're supposed to attend your daughter Beis Yaakov. The interesting thing that Beis Yaakov still exists, and people still are so fond of this idea of Sarah Shnir. When we pass like Lezer, if you teach your Torah, too much Torah, you teach her Tiflis. The Gemara says Tiflis Hakadaita. You teach a woman Torah, it's like teaching her intimacy. And Torah doesn't talk most of the Torah is not revolved about intimacy. Tiflis, it's like you teach her Tiflis, meaning you give her the means to engage in intimacy with someone who is a Talmud Chacham. My time of the Lezer. Where does he derive this from? I am wisdom. The pasuk says Shachanti Arma. I dwell in Arma, cunningness. Once a person learns Torah, he has wisdom in himself. He becomes clever, and women, when they become clever, they're not going to use it to exploit someone and take their money like a man would. They're using it to exploit someone and to have relations with the man of their desire. The Rabbanan who argue, Ben Azai argues, and says that it's good to teach a woman Torah. What do they do with this pasuk? If you want Torah to be kept with you, to stay with you, you have to be willing to make yourself naked. People don't like to walk around naked. It's embarrassing for the person. You have to be willing to put up with embarrassment, learn Torah, even if people make fun of you. Arma is not cunningness over here. It's from the word arum is nakedness. Another piece of advice: Torah is not going to stay with you unless you make yourself like someone who doesn't exist. Chachma, from where it be found. He also darshan ma'ayin, from someone who makes himself like nothing. It will be found. Now, I don't think it means you should negate your self-value. It means that you'll do anything. You'll do something embarrassing. You'll put yourself in positions where people will ridicule you, make fun of you, and make you like something like nothing in order to keep the Torah and learn the Torah. Rabbi Yeshua says another fact about a woman doesn't need so much wealth. They'd rather have a husband who's intimate with them than have so much money. My Kamar, what is he saying? He just says in the letter Vav, Tisha Kavan Precious, better than Tisha Kavan, a large measurement of food, luxuries, a swimming pool in the backyard, precious. And the husband's not physically intimate with them a lot. The woman rather have the closeness, the physical closeness of her husband more than luxurious life. Obviously, they'd rather have both, but if you're picking one over the other, a woman would rather have the physical closeness to her husband more than the actual wealth. Huaya Omer Chassid Sotah. The Mishnah ends off that Chassid Sotah. There's 4 different people that destroy the world. One of them is a Chassid Sotah. What's a Chassid Sotah? Yeridami Chassid Sotah. You can go into Katava Issa Ben Ahara. Say a woman is drowning in the river or a swimming pool. Amar Lavo Rechara Listakuli Bava Atzula. He says, according to the Torah wouldn't want me to look at her, and certainly not to go in and actually touch her and save her. Right? You think this is a crazy example, but imagine a really frum person, a Hasidish person. Imagine a Samar Chassid. He sees a woman drown. You think he's going to jump in and save her? A real Samar Chassid? No, he's not going to. Hey, Gedami Rasha Arum. What's considered a Rasha Arum? An evil person who's very cunning. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Zeh Matim Dvarav L'Dayin Kodem Sheva Baldin Chavero. He has a court case with someone. Normally, you have to start, presenting your arguments when both people are there. You're not supposed to present your arguments before he's there. So you could go to the judge before the other litigant comes, and you tell him why you're correct. And it's hard for the judge not to be influenced by that. It's not the correct thing to do. Rabbi Abba Omer Zeh Nosin Dino La'ani Lahashlim Lo Ma'asayim Zuz. A cunning person for evil, he gives a poor person $1, $2 in order to. So you should have Masayim Zuz $200. Once he has $200, he can't take Manos Aniyim. He can't take Peah, which is the corner of the field, Leket, things that fell, Shicha, things that he forgot, Meiser Ani. The first, second, fourth, and fifth year is supposed to give Meiser Ani to the Anim. Hayalo Masayim Chaser Dinar. If he has even less than a dinar, a little bit less than a Masayim, I feel Elef Nosum No Ka'achas or Izayito. He can get even a big donation. Someone gives a big donation to the charity box. He can take 1,000 dinarim, and you're specifically giving him money, so he's not eligible for tzedakah anymore. That's the wrong thing to do. You give the sons. A father dies. He has sons and daughters, and he only has a little bit of real estate or property left. So the halacha is, even though technically sons inherit, daughters inherit, but the Rabbanan wanted to make sure that the girls who weren't married off would have the funds to marry off. So they said basically the sons inherit, but they also have to pay the finances for the girls until they're married off. So what about if the father leaves over very little, a small estate? So the money of the estate goes for the daughters, and the sons have to go. It's not embarrassing. It's less embarrassing for sons. They go collecting stock on the daughters. However, technically, if the sons inherit the money and they sell it, it works with the Evit, right? I mean, the rice belongs to them. So they inherit a small estate and they sell the money and take the money for themselves and don't support their sisters. If they go and sell it, it really belongs to them. So therefore, it works, even though it's not the right thing. Someone who tells someone advice to sell property, like the opinion of Shem Gamliel Lasanya. Let's say someone gives a present to someone. I'm giving it to you, and after you're done, he gives the payros. I give a piece of land to you. You can enjoy the fruits, and after you die, it goes to a second person, right? He didn't want the person to take the whole land. He wanted to pass it on to a third person. Let's say the first person doesn't listen. He goes and he takes the fruits. He doesn't eat them. He sells them. Rebbe holds you have no rights to do that. Kinyan peiros, you can't sell it. Kinyan peiros basically means I have the right to take the fruits. Does it mean I have the right to own the fruits, that to sell it? No. So therefore, the second person can take out the money that he sold it for. Rishon Gamliel says technically, kinyan peiros zikei kinyan dami. It's machlokas tanoi. It's also machlokas Riyach and Reish Lakish. You possibly have Reish Lakish kinyan go flak kinyan peiros dami. But according to Shmuel, I think Rish Lakish says Kim Beres Kizki the dummy. So like Rish Shmuel says, that technically he has the right to sell it. If he sells it, even though it's not the right thing, if you give him 8 to do it's not the right thing, it works and he gets to keep the money. Rav Yosef Rachama Amar Rav Sheshes, a fifth opinion, someone who's off the derech, OCD, and he encouraged other people to do the wrong thing also. Rav Yisrael Amar Rav Huna Zeh Mekel Asma Machmer Lacherim, a sixth explanation. What's someone who's considered to be a cunning Rasha? Someone who he's a posek, and for himself he's lenient, but for other people he's machmir. I'm not going to say all rabbis are like this, but I've seen definitely many experiences in my life. Well, I know for a fact that I don't know about themselves. For some people, in their psak, they're making. Some people, they're machmir. And a lot of times, often for themselves, it's impossible to live if you're machmir or some of these things. Nonetheless. Not saying every rabbi is like this, but a lot of them are machmir for other people. For themselves, not practical to be machmir, so they're makel. Ula Amar Zeh Tabuch Chavezon Zeh Shekara V'Shana Lo Shimish Talmidei Chomim. Someone who learns Chumash, he learned Mishnayos, but below Shimesh Talmidei Chomim, even if he learned Gemara, let's say, but he didn't sit in the shiur of a rabbi, a Talmid Chacham, who teaches him how to learn Gemara. It's very important to have someone to teach you how to learn Gemara. Some people say Shimesh Talmidei Chacham is to follow Talmidei Chacham around and see how they act. I don't know if that's the best thing, but Shimesh Talmidei Chacham often means, and the Rishonim say this, is to sit in a shiur, Rav Arieli's shiur maybe, and Sion Lang's shiur, and listen to Ian with Ben Sion and find out how to learn Be'iyun, because you don't learn Be'iyun, you don't learn it analytically, you'll just take everything at face value, and you'll never uncover the depths of the Torah. I hope you enjoyed today's shiur. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion when I talk about the unique relationship of Yisachar and Zvulun and what our Gemara has to add to that. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.